Hey guys, welcome to Why Shy Why for this week. Thank you for joining me. It's been a while actually since I last did a video, so it's good to be back and doing these things. The sun is shining, it's spring out, so I'm happy. Today I want to talk about estimations. I did a video a couple of episodes ago on wideband Delphi. Today I want to extend on that and really understand some of the data that comes out of that process. All right, so let's get into it. So estimations has been a problem for the software development industry forever, right? We still continue to get more failures in terms of estimation, at least, than we get successes. So anyway, that plays on my mind because I'm all about the professionalization of the software industry, and one thing that I hate is failure. So, that's always on my mind. I was in a car accident a couple of months ago. I'm fine, thank you for asking. Everything's good, thank you. But basically, I took the car in for a quotation to get it fixed a couple of weeks ago, and the gentleman came out and he sort of looked at this car and spent about 5 minutes in front of it, asked me a couple of questions, and boom, he could quote, he could estimate. And so I got quite interested in this, and I was like, well, how do you do it so well? Because surely you guys aren't losing money, you're still in business. You can't be that bad at your job. So I started asking a couple of questions. And he said, well, we break it down into parts and labor, and the parts stuff is easy because you just go, I want a make model bumper of this, and this is how much it's going to cost, and then blah. On the labor side, he said it's all about experience, it's all about having worked on multiple different cars at different times with different peoples. And I was like, okay, cool, that makes sense, but how many people are actually estimating this? And he goes, well, I've just done it. In the 5 minutes that I was talking to him, he had estimated the whole thing in terms of labor cost. And I was like, whoa, I'm a wideband Delphi kind of guy. I like the wisdom of crowds. I want multiple people looking at this piece of work and saying, okay, this is not the average, but this is the agreed upon estimation. They don't do that in that industry. In the car, what's it called? The body shop industry, they don't do that at all. What they do is they sort of use their experience, and they have one person, one wise person who basically comes in and goes, right, this is what it's going to cost. And that got me thinking, well, I wonder how often they get it right. There must be a lot of buffer there, right? Because they clearly aren't getting it wrong. So they must be like giving themselves a decent amount of buffer, and you don't really have that data, at least I don't. Insurance companies might, but I definitely don't. But I do have data from another different alignment of estimation, which is software development. So what I did was I got back to the office after dropping the car off, and I started downloading. I think I ended up with something like 3,200 data points across multiple teams, multiple projects, multiple technologies, and multiple countries, and multiple companies, obviously. So I got a lot of data, and I just compared the estimate, the original estimate, and the final actual amount of time. And I found that, funnily, and this is the shocking bit for me at least, 45% of the time, teams are getting it right. Now, they all use wideband Delphi. I know that for a fact because I helped them get there. But even then, I was surprised at how often we were compliant. We were meeting our estimate right on. Like if the estimate was 13 hours, we got it done in 13 hours exactly. Not 13.1, not 12.9, 13 exactly. And I was like, sounds a bit hinky, right? So I started doing a bit of research, and I was like, okay, cool. This is clearly happening way too often. I'm going to have to talk to these teams, and I'm going to have to figure out why it's happening and it shouldn't be happening. And I want to at least have some data before I get there. Not data, but some background. So I did some research online, real quick Google, and the first thing I saw that sort of came to this idea was something called Parkinson's law. Now, Parkinson was basically a labor efficiency expert in UK government a few decades ago, and he basically said, look, if you give someone X amount of time to do work, they'll take the whole X time to do that work. So actually, I might say exactly what he said was work expands as to fill the time available for its completion. Quote unquote, work expands as to fill the time available for its completion. Okay, that kind of seems like, there's a lot of fluff, there's a lot of give, a buffer, if you will. in the estimations that we do, and that might be the case in the car industry, but I don't know if that's the case using wideband Delphi. So I started doing some more research, and I made it to Google Scholar, which is such an amazing tool. I wish I had that when I was at university. And I started finding a whole bunch of studies that were taken to basically prove or disprove Parkinson's law. Turns out they proved it. And the reasons given from these scientists was that in a normal mental state of consciousness, when you're under a deadline, the human brain ticks off itself, right? It has like an internal clock, and it sort of goes, the closer you are to the deadline, the quicker you're going to work. The further you are from a deadline, the more detail-oriented and quality-wise you're going to be thinking. So at the start of a deadline, your quality is high, your time to get work done is really slow. At the end of a deadline, your quality is low, but your time to get stuff done is really quick, right? And so you have these really interesting converging arcs. And what's in the middle, that intersection point, is basically when we're planning as humans, that's what we think about. We think about the average of those two things, right? And so when we come down to it, the average of the two arcs is equal to the average estimation, in my case, 45% of the time. So now I've got this scientific rigor, I've got mathematics on my side, I've got the data to prove it, and I'm thinking to myself, how do I fix this, right? My first inkling is, if it takes, say, 10 hours to do 10 hours work, but it takes 8 hours to do the same 10 hours work, why not just reduce every story estimation by a factor and see what happens? The problem with that, that was my first thought, right? But the problem with that, after I started actually thinking about it, was that all I'm doing is I'm just compressing the time, right? And so I'm still going to have those two diverging arcs. I'm still going to have a average of quality and time. The problem is the average will be lower now, and so the time will take less, but the quality will also be less, right? Which is why wideband Delphi works well in the first place. So I kind of went all the way full circle. I did a bit of I guess what I did was a data analysis, then some research, and then I extrapolated that, hey, wideband Delphi was the reason why. The reason why we did it was because we wanted that accuracy, and that accuracy is great for planning and forecasting, and that's all it is, it's planning and forecasting. And it's working 45% of the time. I shouldn't be so upset about it. Really pretty simple. So I spent the whole day basically looping it, and but it's kind of a good thing now to have, and I'll definitely be, sharing it with you guys, but definitely be sharing it with teams going forward as well, that, hey, you guys, when you're doing wideband Delphi, just be careful that your brain, just be cognizant that your brain is actually going to do this, right? And that's cool. That's good, actually. Keep working on it. All right, guys, that's it for me for today. Thanks for hanging out.